Let me say something that might bother you at first, something that contradicts almost everything you were taught growing up, something that genuinely intelligent people think about privately, but almost never say out loud. Why do so many brilliant people end up financially average or worse, while people who seem far less impressive quietly build real wealth? And before you assume this is going somewhere uncomfortable, stay with me. This is not about intelligence being a curse. It is not about luck favoring mediocrity. It is about a very specific structural mismatch that most smart people never recognize, because the system that shaped them never wanted them to. Look around. You can find a PhD drowning in student loan debt, while a high school graduate who started a plumbing company owns 3 rental properties free and clear. You can find a software engineer with a 150 IQ optimizing code for a corporation at a fixed salary, while a former classmate with average grades runs a distribution business generating 6 figures a month. The pattern is consistent enough that it cannot be dismissed as coincidence. So what is actually happening here? The answer starts in childhood. From the moment we enter school, intelligence is defined in a very specific way. Smart means getting the right answer. Smart means performing well on standardized tests. Smart means following complex instructions precisely and earning the approval of institutional authority. A smart child raises their hand. A smart child absorbs the material. A smart child stays within the rules and is consistently rewarded for doing so. Here's what that reward system actually trains. It trains compliance. It trains pattern recognition within fixed systems. It trains the belief that correctness equals success. And it does this so effectively over so many years that intelligent people begin to build their entire identity around being right. But wealth creation does not reward being right. It rewards leverage, timing, persuasion, and the ability to act under uncertainty without complete information. These are completely different skills. They are almost never taught in the same rooms where intelligence is measured and celebrated. Think about what happens to the intelligent student over time. They are praised for precision. They are rewarded for accuracy. They are validated every time they avoid a mistake. So gradually their self-worth becomes attached to not being wrong. And when your identity is built around never being wrong, risk becomes a threat, not just to your finances, but to who you are. Now consider 2 people standing in front of the same business opportunity. The first person, intelligent, analytically gifted, can immediately see the regulatory exposure, the competitive threats, the operational breakdowns, the financial scenarios where everything falls apart. They are not pessimists. They're simply very good at seeing risk in high definition. So they conclude that the risk-adjusted return is insufficient. They pass. The second person, average intelligence, lower analytical burden, cannot see all 15 failure paths in that same resolution. They see a rough opportunity. They move. They fail twice. They adapt. 3 years later, they have something that works. The intelligent person is not less brave. They are more burdened. It's that burden. The ability to see every possible way something can go wrong is genuinely expensive when it prevents you from ever starting. This connects directly to the employment trap. And this is where smart people lose the most ground over the longest period of time. Intelligent people are extraordinarily employable. They solve complex problems. They increase efficiency. They make institutions function better. And because of this, institutions reward them generously. With stable salaries, titles, promotions, and professional status, the feedback loop is clean and satisfying. But there's a ceiling built into that loop. No matter how intelligent you are, your income inside employment is capped by salary bands, by budget cycles, by organizational hierarchies designed to prevent any individual from capturing too much value. It can be brilliant and earn very well, but you will rarely build significant wealth through a paycheck alone. The average person who owns a modest business, even a boring, unglamorous one, has no ceiling. One good decision can multiply returns rather than increase them by a fixed percentage. One new territory, one better price contract, one system that runs without constant supervision, and the returns compound in ways that no salary structure ever will. Smart employees optimize systems they do not own.
Average.
Owners build systems they control. That gap, compounded across 20 or 30 years, produces outcomes that look enormous from the outside, but were entirely predictable from the structure. There is another layer to this that almost never gets discussed. Wealth moves through relationships more than it moves through intelligence. Capital flows through conversations. Opportunities emerge through trust. Deals close because someone feels confident in the person across the table. And many intelligent people, precisely because they were rewarded for intellectual rigor, rather than social effectiveness, have spent less time mastering persuasion, negotiation, and relationship architecture. Some even view networking as intellectually beneath them, superficial, not rigorous enough. But the average individual who masters basic persuasion and maintains broad, genuine social connections routinely accesses opportunities that never reach the isolated expert. Intelligence without social leverage stays theoretical. Wealth requires transactions, and transactions are human. Perfectionism compounds the problem. High intelligence tends to produce high standards. Smart people want to understand every variable. They want their work polished before anyone sees it. They want credentials established before claiming authority. All of this sounds reasonable. But markets do not reward perfection as much as they reward speed and iteration. An average entrepreneur releases a rough product, gathers real feedback, improves it, and builds momentum. The intelligent perfectionist waits for version 5. By the time they launch, someone else has already learned what the market wants and adjusted accordingly. The market is not a professor. It does not grade on rigor. It responds to whoever showed up and adapted fastest. There is also the question of what intelligent people choose to pursue. High status, intellectual careers, academic research, medicine, law. Engineering at large firms attract a disproportionate share of cognitive talent. These fields offer genuine respect, intellectual stimulation, and peer validation. But they do not always offer scalable wealth relative to the time invested. Meanwhile, someone who went into sales or bought a franchise or started a contracting business or invested consistently in real estate, fields that carry little intellectual prestige, may accumulate assets quietly for decades, while the intelligent professional accumulates recognition. Society has confused prestige with prosperity for long enough that intelligent people often don't realize they are optimizing for the wrong variable. There is a mathematical dimension to all of this that makes the outcome dramatic over time. The salaried professional, even a brilliant one, grows income linearly. Incremental raises, periodic bonuses, predictable trajectory. Ownership grows differently. Equity appreciates. Businesses scale. Distribution multiplies without proportional labor increase. If you own part of something that doubles in value, your wealth doubles without doubling your effort. That is leverage. And leverage does not work inside a salary structure. Over 10 years, the linear path and the exponential path look similar enough to rationalize staying where you are. Over 20 or 30 years, they look nothing alike. Here's the synthesis, and this is the part I want you to actually sit with. Intelligence optimizes for accuracy within systems. Wealth optimizes for leverage across systems. Accuracy produces reliability. Leverage produces multiplication. These are not the same objective, and optimizing hard for one does not automatically produce the other. The same cognitive power that could design scalable systems is frequently redirected into perfecting someone else's system. Not because intelligent people lack the capacity for ownership, but because every structure that ever rewarded them, school, university, corporate employment, was designed to channel that capacity into institutional service. This is not a conspiracy. It is just how institutions preserve themselves. They reward the behavior that benefits them. And intelligent people, having been consistently rewarded by institutions, tend to trust them. The solution is not to become less analytical. It is not to reject education or romanticize ignorance. It is to consciously redirect intelligence toward the problems that produce ownership rather than approval. To study cash flow as seriously as you once studied theory. To treat negotiation as a discipline worth mastering. To tolerate ambiguity long enough for equity to accumulate. To detach your identity from being correct and reattach it to being strategically positioned. Because once you understand that leverage beats accuracy in wealth creation, not in the classroom, not in the performance review, but in the actual long-run accumulation of assets, you cannot unknow it. So here's the question I want you to actually answer, not just think about. Where exactly is your intelligence being deployed right now? Is it compounding for you? Or is it compounding for the institution that employs you? These are not the same destination. And the gap between them over time is everything.